here are the beginning things that you'll need for the recipe. Chicken thighs, pepper, almonds, sliced, thyme and rosemary, cinnamon, cloves. I use ground. You can use the unground if you want. Chicken bouillon, salt, raisins, the golden ones normally, that's what I use, bay leaves, garlic powder, and an onion, which is trying to escape. And of course, rice, which is over there in a bag. So that's the intro beginning part. So the first thing we do is use salt, pepper, rosemary, and thyme on the chicken. So we'll open those up, flatten them out, and then season those up really well. Then we'll begin the rice, because there's not really enough time after you start the rice to do the chicken and get it cooked in time. We're also doing asparagus with it, but that's not as important right now. Okay, so this is a pile of chicken thighs coated with the thyme, rosemary, salt, and pepper. Also, things I've got to mention earlier for the sauce include butter and heavy cream. Heavy whipping cream is what it's called some places. So now that we've got the meat seasoned, what we do is we heat up butter in the pan for however much rice we're going to cook. Cut up the onion first. So I'm making 2 cups of rice. I'll be using 4 cups of water. And so use double the amount of butter. So instead of having 2 tablespoons of butter in here, I've got 4. So then dump this in. Most of it. There, perfect. Stir it around ever so gently. And this gets cooked over like medium heat a little bit. Where'd my spoon go? This doesn't really need to cook that much, just a little bit, just to get it slightly translucent. So it's, slightly clear, lightly glistening. At which point, you then add in the rice. Rice gets added in. A lot of times I'll turn down the heat a little bit, like 3 or so, or lower. Because you don't really want it to burn on the bottom. You don't want it to cook too fast, but you do want it to brown lightly and golden. At this point, I'll often grab out the almonds. And I've never actually really measured it, so like for this, that's what, 1/8 of a cup, 1/4 cup maybe. But I'll use double that amount because I'm making a double batch. That's what it looks like. And they're good to be, toasted in here and heat as well. The raisins sometimes I'll put in at this point, sometimes I won't. Just depends on what meat I'm in. So yeah, so I've had a little bit of time to cook, and they're turning yellow. You can hear a couple of them popping. There's like a little bit of browning, not a huge amount. You're wanting some of the flavor to pop out, but not a ridiculous amount. All right, so now we're going to add in some of the golden, what we'll call it, raisins. And normally, see how much is here? That's probably a good amount for a double batch. I'd probably use more if I had more. That's a little bit much for one serving, but whatever. I love the raisins. We add a lot to it. Okay. And at this point, make sure you've got hot water ready. You know, make sure you run hot water in your faucet so that way you're ready to pour hot water in. Alright, so I just added, and we're making a double batch, so I added 2 cups of rice, so I added 4 4¼ cups of water. The reason why is because the rice and some of the other stuff will absorb some of the moisture. And I don't want it to get, you know, too thick. You know, a little bit soupy. To me, it's not a big deal, because, you know, wait another minute or 2 and it'll cook off. But if it's too dry, then there's, you know, it's kind of screwed. So, once that is done, then we add in the spices. So, garlic powder. So, not a huge amount. A bay leaf or 2 in this kind of situation, because I'm making a double batch. I'll either use 3 smalls or 2 big. Or I will try to pour them on the floor. That's awesome. So, 3 medium. Let's see, cloves and cinnamon are the 2 which are really easy to overpower. So, like, honestly, like, that is pretty much all I'll use, because it goes a really long way. So that's the cloves, and then this is the cinnamon. And it already might be a little bit too much. And of course, salt and pepper. Everything gets salt and pepper. So this part, remember, this is 4 cups of water. So, I don't know, maybe 3 bouillon cubes, maybe 4. Yeah, the broth's actually not the really important part. All the spices are. Okay. So once you've got everything in there, you crank up the heat, you know, full volume, and let it come to a boil, and then slap a lid on it. And once that's getting ready, because it'll be basically like 18 minutes, at that point you start preheating the pans for the other stuff. Actually put on water, basically like in between that, for the asparagus. Whereas the chicken breast, you know, doesn't require water to get going, so you got a little bit more leeway on it. Almost ready. Once it starts boiling, go ahead and turn the volume down to 2. Basically, you know, whatever your low simmer for rice is. Turn it down, stir it one last time. Put on the lid on it. Put it up to, yeah, 29 minutes. 20 minutes is good. And which point? Then you start heating up all the pans for the chicken. And these I put on not super high, but pretty damn high. The water for the asparagus, focus. The water for the asparagus I'll generally, you know, keep going at a simmer. That'll go into like the 11-minute mark. The chicken I'll put in at the 15-minute mark. So it's a 15-minute mark. These pans have been preheated, pretty damn hot. Like on mine it goes 136, then high. They're up to 5. And there's olive oil in there, so they've been cooking for a while. It's pretty hot. Okay, so it's about the 4-minute mark now. You can see there's still some areas that are not completely cooked through yet, but you know, not time to flip it over just quite yet. We're going to get all sizzling on that side. Put the asparagus in, it's doing its thing. Whenever you do it with 2 pans, you'll always end up with, you know, different heat cooking times, etc. And it's almost ready. It's right on that side. Good job. And because I'm making a sauce out of it, it's perfectly fine to have like little bits and chunks that are left in there. Yeah, it's working alright. I'm just going to cook it a bit faster. I actually never turned it down, because they've all been cooking at like, you know, very high, not maximum, but very high. Go ahead and it's all sizzling. because I'm making the sauce, I would give it a couple more minutes to, you know, to sit there and settle after it's, after take it off the heat. Okay, just getting all brown and crispy. I flipped all of them over. A lot of times I'll use a flat spatula to get underneath it. Otherwise I leave too much chubby chunks on the bottom. When you ever make a double batch, one of them will always take longer than the other. So in this situation, I'm going to start pulling the done ones off and transferring these out. That way I've got the really big skillet for making the sauce. I will, however, be pouring, you know, all the pan drippings and stuff on the bottom into the other pan for that. The timer's on 44 seconds. So obviously these are really close. These are another couple minutes out. I'm going to turn off the rice and the asparagus as soon as that's done. And, you know, do the last step on that. It's been a minute, so I transferred all the undercooked ones to this skillet. All the cooked ones over here. Got the asparagus going. And this has got all of the wonderful juices. So, what goes in there first is white wine. That's basically just to deglaze it and get it all ready for the next step. The next step, which is adding about 4 tablespoons of butter. Maybe 5. Stir that around until it's good and dissolved. And I still keep it on high throughout this process. Put these little guys if you need it. I'll shift them around. After it's got flipped. Dissolving, and as soon as that's dissolved out, then we add the heavy cream. Alright, so that's going through, heavy cream. And then there's the double batch, it's a little bit more than normal, and that's 1 pint. Stir it around a little bit. Leave it up to high. However, this is the part where we'll add more salt, pepper, and more thyme. And the one thing that we forgot is lemon juice. Most times I put it in after the wine, that way that's going to kind of curdling the cream. Probably like 2 tablespoons, maybe 3. A little bit more. That's looking good. The rice is done. The asparagus is almost done. Pulled off the chicken that was ready, and then poured the other stuff on top of it. If you just let it cook, eventually we'll do this where it'll get, you know, much hotter and thicker, etc. And keep stirring it so it doesn't scorch on the bottom, and it will thicken up as a heavy cream sauce with lots of good stuff in there. It makes it taste good. And this part really depends on how thick you guys like your sauce. So for me, it's pretty much ready. It's almost there. Just another couple seconds. Maybe like a minute. And then we plate. Alright. And there you go. That's what it looks like when it's finished. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I have to go now because I have to go eat it.